It's like my life flashing before my eyes, well, the last few years anyway. Time for Type 40 live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen here. Rumble, X, YouTube, Facebook for Doctor Who coverage, whether they like it or not. Joined by a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you. And is that a clearish image of what lies ahead starting to appear? We hit up the ones who were always in the know, maybe. We'll see. Plus, there's a big birthday, believe it or not, in the TARDIS. When isn't there? I know, but we've got one big birthday boy in particular to talk about. See, you can trust Type 40. There is lots to talk about, lots to laugh about. After all, here on The Big Who, Type 49. And where else at this precise moment in time would I want to be than somewhere? Actually, this isn't that cozy after all, is it? Come to think of it. I think of it as a happy place, but it's not really that happy. It's actually quite cold and clammy, I think. Or is that just me? It could be me. It could be me. The jury is out. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to another round of Doctor Who talk from across the Whoniverse with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and this week's swirly pattern of choice. Hello. We'll find out who you are in a moment or two, whether it's Rumble, X, YouTube, or Facebook that you are dialing in from. God, that's a Stargate reference, isn't it? Dialing in. They don't dial in on Doctor Who. What am I talking about? Get franchises right, Hadley. It's because they don't put any Doctor Who. Where's Doctor Who? Where's Doctor Who gone? No Doctor Who for the time being. We're on rations. Of course we are, but it just means that we've got to get that bit more inventive. And look that bit deeper, closer than ever before, and for the conversation to get sillier than it ever has before, even by our standards. So stay tuned for that. Hold tight and all that jazz. And it's not just me. You'll be pleased to learn I have a crew waiting to come on now. She's had a terrible day, bless her. She's been battered from there to here and back again, but she's made it anyway, in one piece-ish. It's Charlotte Shields.
Hello. As if people know, we've had gale force winds in the UK today, and I use public transport to get to work. So you can work out the day I've had with fighting the wind and the rain with an umbrella. So when I got home, I was very happy. Oh yeah. And like you can see multiple people in cars go past you looking at you like, oh, you poor sod. Like
you didn't get done by one of the big puddles, did you? Where it comes over your head like a tsunami, and you think, "Oh."
No, I on purpose now. If I see like a big van or anything coming near me, I go as far away from any puddle I can see on the road because I've been splashed by those in my time.
Oh, dear me! So if you are out and about in that neck of the woods and you see our Charlotte sort of struggling with a brolly and looking like she's about to get rained on, don't splash her, for heaven's sake! Don't splash her.
That'd be nice, folks.
It's good to see you. We've got some Doctor Who news to warm you. Well, I say news. Doctor Who talk to warm you with. Whether it's news or not, I think the jury could be out on that. If we can't decide between the two of us, Charlotte, some brilliant news. We've got 2 more people to bring on. First of all, Gary Akers. Here he is.
Hey, here I am at long last.
Welcome back, Gary.
It's thank you. It's not. I know it's not my birthday today, but I won't object if everybody wants to go ahead and praise me anyway today. That'd be fine. Then you can do it again in a couple months on my actual birthday.
Oh, so you get 2.
I was going to say royalty. You're the royalty, really, not the 2 of us. Because you get 2 birthdays.
I don't know.
I'll give you the royal wave.
People do get more difficult and more temperamental to work with as it goes on. It turns out all the rumours are true, Charlotte. Who'd have thought it? Gary turns into a diva.
Yeah. I never would have guessed out, Gary.
I don't know, Dan. Clearly, you didn't get my letter asking for my own trailer.
You'll be in Ray-Bans next week. Right? You've gone full Hollywood. It's good to see you, Gary. Welcome back to the show. It is very good to see
both of you. Yes. What?
And we're in the coral themed TARDIS. I'm happy to say.
Yes.
Still nothing. I mean, obviously, I tried giving it a slap the last time I called Little Man, tried to get Little Man in. Then I realised there were no Little Men anymore. We're supposed to just sort of throw these things out when they stop working or picking up that which they're meant to pick up. See, it's not having it. It's not having it. With that, I was going to say, if I can't manage it, I'll bring on the best slapper I know. But seeing as he's just got back from Tenerife, I could probably choose my words a bit more carefully when I introduce David Milling.
Hello! Yes, I'll give it a good slap. There you go. Give it a good bang and it'll get going again.
Say no more.
I was just going to say, I've got a rusty old tool somewhere I can give it a whack with. But hello, everybody. Hello. It's lovely to see you all again. And hello, all in the chat. I missed you all greatly last week. It was lovely being away. Sorry?
I said, were you gone? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. I missed you more than Luke, of course, Gary.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. But I had a lovely time. It was wonderful. It's nice to be away and see something the sun for a few days. And however, the hotel we were at, it was an adults only place. It was a combination. Most of the
read about things like this, Gary.
Most of the people there were older than the people in Cocoon. Or that you find English Center. Yeah. So we brought down the average age by about 35 years. So it was full of people in wheelchairs and walking sticks. However, I was quite concerned when the Bee Gees tribute band cancelled, and we got a 4-top tribute band, but there were only 3 of them.
The 3 tops.
I would have liked the Bee Gees cover band.
I would have loved it. We got the Spanish Beatles that for one night. We got Diana Ross, Tina Turner, stroke Shirley Bassey.
I was going to say, David, you can't get much worse than the Doctor Who episode, which was meant to have the Beatles in, and the way they casted that. So
no Beatles at all in that, Charlotte.
Exactly. But I was concerned for slips, falls, and hazards when all the old dears got up and started to boogie. But one thing out there in the chat as well. One thing, they had bingo on in the night as a first thing before the cabaret started. But bingo now, you scan a QR code and you have to do it on your phone. There's no eyes down with your little dabbers. It was all done. No,
you keep your little dabbers to yourself. No, if you can do it on your phone, you may as well do it from home. You may as well do it from here. You may as well do it from your living room.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was just not, and the bingo caller was not doing the old 2 fat ladies or clickety clicks.
Well,
or
not until after the game had finished, obviously. No. People would
Hello.
And there were plenty of them. Yeah, it was lovely.
I'm glad you've had a good time. Even if you were a top short, We'll try and make up for it by bringing you top Doctor Who talk this time, David. That's how we roll here, in case you've forgotten. So Doctor Who may not be on the screen. It's been on our minds, on our feeds, specifically a very particular time and space and face, the face that keeps looming its way out of the Doctor Who universe at us wherever we go. The talk seems to be with the one plate. No, but it's not there. Still, the signal's not quite coming through. So you've probably had more things on your mind than Doctor Who, David. And I can't say I particularly blame you, but we can catch you up on the things that you may have missed and where things could go. I'm just trying to think if I can jam this in and see. Oh, there she is. There we are. We managed to pick something up. I'm not quite sure. Looks like one of those dolls you get at those shops, doesn't it? But we'll fiddle around, see if we can make some sense of that.
It reminds me of Any Fools and Horses. Yeah, absolutely.
Since we've been coming on early, I had to keep these jokes until far, far later, hadn't I? So yes, it's all been about her and that in the last 7 to 10 days. Our silly season, David, has very much rolled on. So we've had a plethora of headlines at places that don't really matter and haven't got the faintest idea at all. So I've forgotten about all of them and all of that, sort of TV Zone and Doctor Who TV and Metro and all those places. And I've gone to ask the people who, generally speaking, tend to know. No interference or anything over in the average bookies, of course. You just got to be careful because you could stick to the floor if you stand in the one place for a little bit too long. But other than that, I find that this is where you go to find out some truths, I suppose. And as we head into Easter, which has to be, surely to God, Charlotte, this has to be the final hurdle, I suppose, in silly season. We're going to be hearing something solid sooner rather than later. But this is what I figured we could have some fun by asking the bookies, what on earth do they think is going on? And in the spirit of David's sort of remote bingo game, I've done some remote bookie bothering here. So I've been over here. I've been to the OLBG. That sounds like a Bee Gees tribute act. Yeah.
Bee Gees tribute act. Yeah.
I've asked Barry Gibb. He's going to get back to me.
Barry Gibb. Barry Gibb. Yes.
Until he does, I've gone to the OLBG. So this is the online betting guide, believe it or not. And they tout themselves as your trusted guide to online betting in the UK only, sadly, Gary. But they boast that they've got thousands of betting opportunities every day and hundreds of betting sites to choose from. They're a sort of aggregate site. And they claim that users have been sharing their experiences and reporting on what's worth putting a few quid on since 2002. So that's 24 years of the OLBG. I never knew. So the idea is that it can help us to make informed choices about where to put your money. And even they've got an opinion about who could be leading Doctor Who, Charlotte. So you're probably very keen to see who the bookies' favourites are currently.
There's certain names I've already got in my head. Let's see if any of them appear.
Cosmo Smallpiece, it could be on there. We'll have to wait to see. But in the meantime, yes, these are the names that are there with the OLBG. The next Doctor Who, we've got the odds on each candidate and their implied probability. It says the latest market shows Billie Piper still as the clear favourite to take on the role on a permanent basis. So they're stating they believe that she won't be the one and done just on with the Christmas dinner, that she'll be sticking around. So Billie Piper's there at the top with an implied probability of 60%. Next down is someone called Amy Lou Wood, believe it or not. Now that must be, it has to be a girl, but you never know nowadays, do you? So it could be. We'll find out in a moment. Erin Doherty is there at third choice. Martin Freeman.
Player.
Yeah, Ray Reardon is at number 6. We've got Martin Freeman is next down, but he's level pegging with Erin Doherty. They're 25% of the implied probability. Matt Smith is creeping in there, Charlotte. People believe, it seems, a significant proportion of the bookies, a fifth of all bookies, believe that your doctor, Matt Smith himself, may be back. What do you think of that?
I'm surprised it's him and not Tennant.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Maybe they've stopped taking bets on Tennant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he's just so like we can just guess he's going to appear whenever, so it's no point putting the money bet on
At
it.
some point. At some point he'll pop up. So yeah, there we have it, with the final candidate being Tom Hiddleston, who's obviously just finishing a stint in The Night Manager season 2 there. He's at 16.7%. I think he's seen as too big a deal now, but it does say that betting sites are currently not actually taking bets on this. So in other words, they don't care. If the bookies won't take your money, then you know that no one cares. But they've compiled this anyway, based on some sort of implied probability. So it says that Piper is the strong favourite, according to the experts, suggesting many believe the finale twist may lead to that full-time position. So this is a topic, I believe, that has largely left the news cycle and probably even the memories of the people who watched it whenever it was, David, back in May. I think that we had that initial sort of outrage and, oh my God, have they really done that? And everybody recognizing it as a gimmick. But people have gone to bed and got up a few times since then, people who don't eat, sleep and drink Doctor Who. So understandably, I believe that they've sort of moved on. But do you think, what do you think about some of these names here? Are they names that you've heard a lot?
No, not really. I certainly wouldn't put Martin Freeman in there. Definitely wouldn't put Matt Smith in there. I'm sorry, I don't know who Amy Leewood or Erin Doherty, the not snooker player, is, and definitely not Tom Hiddleston. I would have thought Tom Hiddleston might be considered for the new James Bond, or not. That'd probably be
a bit more sensible,
better odds. But
his pay grade.
Absolutely, but the thing is, the names I've heard are people like Rupert Grint, Tom Felton would be a good one. I know I would love Robert. I've said Robert Aramayo, who plays John Davison in I Swear, who won quite rightly 2 BAFTAs for it, which is an amazing film that I've now seen 3 times. But I think he's taken up with some other commitments for is it Lord of the Rings sequel or something like that?
You told me, mate.
I've no idea. Somebody told me that he was in the chat last week that he was committed. It might have been PD Rich actually, but I just think that Doctor Who works the better. I think it should be somebody who, as Tom Baker always used to say, can be anybody. It can be an actor with an equity card, somebody completely unknown. And I think it would be better if we went with somebody completely unknown. A bit. You see, Matt Smith was a bit unknown, but he was excellent in the film Official Secrets before he was cast, I believe, or
I've not seen.
With Keira Knightley.
I thought you were going to say with Keir Starmer then. I thought, bloody
hell, with Keir
Starmer.
But no, Matt Smith played the investigative journalist for I think it was it The Observer?
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah. And he played it brilliantly. So again, he was quite, it was sort of
good
unknown.
To know. I think it's good to know that Matt Smith is still at the forefront of people's minds. Charlotte, I think they associate him with that part, David. And so whoever they're asking, I think the crux of it is, Charlotte, that people have got over David Tennant. Finally, too many returns, too many soapboxes, I think, for Tennant now. I think he's made a chump of himself far too many times. Of course, the names Danny Dyer and Joe Pasquale tend to be the ones that the tabloids go for. So I wouldn't look for too much sense and reason there. But I had to look up who Erin Doherty was. And this is Erin Doherty. So she's a 33-year-old actress. And I knew I'd seen her before. Now, she played Princess Anne in The Crown for a couple of years. You know, in The Crown, they move it on, don't they, Charlotte? So different people play them at different stages of their life, members of the royal family. So she was Princess Anne in that. And she currently stars in this. So this is 1,000 Blows. Relax, guys. It's not as good as it sounds. 1,000 Blows on Sky. This is a boxing drama where she plays this sort of Cockney sort of gangster character, full of personality. I can see why people like her, but of course she's a woman, and we know by now we don't need to do this again. I would have thought it'd be pretty clear that it's not going to it's not going to work. I see why people look at it, because she's very unusual to look at, Charlotte, whereas Jodie Whittaker, she was kind of very pretty and empty-headed. This woman is full of character.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've only really seen her in The Crown, and she played a really good part in that. And the thing that she got with Anne, which why I can see a skill transferable in Anne's character, which is Anne was very at times played sort of the pillar that knows what's right. Like with all the other royals and all their scandals and all the stuff that everybody else was getting up to at that period when it was focusing on, Anne was the steady one. And that she had that sort of that skill as an actress to bring that. So ideally you do want that in your lead, to sort of be that pillar of strength, and that's what this actress can do. But like you said, I think the time for taking a chance with this role, the time for trying a gimmick again, for trying to please a certain set of people again, is been long gone. We need somebody who can bring this brand back to life, and that's going to be a male, to put it bluntly. I think that's the only way this character has got a way of coming back into the public consciousness, people connecting back with the Doctor as a character. But
I couldn't agree more. We've got another candidate here, Charlotte. So this is Amy Lou, and she is yet another former cast member of the series Sex Education that Shooty Gatwa came from. But she's also been in a pretty big show called The White Lotus, which I have heard a lot of good things about, but I've never seen either show. Again, very distinctive young woman. There's no getting around that, but I couldn't speak as to her acting ability, how much range she's got, because I've never seen her at all. Have you, Charlotte? Do you know who this is?
I've seen her in Sex Education, and off that role I can't see her as a Doctor, because she was playing a bit of a flighty, bit thick, bit like well-meaning, like nothing nasty about the character, but she was just a bit ditzy. Like that's the way I would describe what she played, and she played it well. But like I said, whereas with Erin, I could see, if I'm just taking away all what I said about needing to be a bloke, I could see what people are seeing in Erin. I can't personally see in her, even though, like I said, she was good in Sex Education. But the thing that screams to me from all those names you've put out, I don't think anybody has a clue right now what they're going to do when it comes to... No, casting-wise. That's such a far-reaching group of people. Like, you've got names which have always been circled, like a Hiddleston. You've got a past Doctor. You've got Freeman, who is a very good and, like... He's a good working British actor. He has had Hollywood...
Versatile as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
You never know what he's going to do next.
He's probably the most, I would say, out that list. If I had to pick, I would go with Freeman. Because also in Watson, and this is what I did like about him, his Watson, he actually showed how Watson isn't just a second fiddle to Sherlock. Watson has his own strengths and his own sort of role in that sort of partnership. Whereas I think beforehand it was easy to go, well, Watson's just the guy who follows him around and writes the blog, and he's not really... Whereas with Freeman, he said, no, the point of Watson is he's the moral compass for Sherlock. He's sort of his guiding sort of... No, you have to think about how you're treating people. So that he could do the compassion of the Doctor very well, I think.
Martin Freeman, Charlotte, is one of this country's most flexible, reliable character actors, and the fact that he looks like he could be anybody, I believe, is why he gets overlooked for a lot of these big sort of roles. I mean, Gary, what do you make of this selection here from the bookies? Any surprises here? People that stand out to you, and could you be sold on any of these people at all? Really,
I had not heard of the two ladies in the list, but I totally agree 100% with Charlotte. If this show is going to even have a chance of getting back on a firm foundation, you've got to have a male in the role. And if for the only reason that I don't think it would matter how extensive the CVs of a woman coming in, just the very fact that people would say, oh, the doctor's a woman again, that would indicate to a no doubt substantial portion of the audience that the BBC is more concerned still with identity politics rather than doing something, making a decision in the best interest of the show. It wouldn't matter the actress or their experience or capability. Just that alone would be like, no, they're still just box ticking. They're still just box ticking. And a lot of people would turn off for that. I don't think that, I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't see like a really super known quantity like Martin Freeman or Tom Hiddleston. Even though a couple of days ago I just watched for the first time the Kong movie that Tom Hiddleston was in a few years ago, and I thought he was really good in that. I don't know. I think you need an actor who's not like a star, I guess, and somebody who's been a regular in the Marvel franchise over the last 20 years, as both of those gentlemen have been, Martin Freeman and Tom Hiddleston. I think they're too identified with that. I don't even know that they'd be interested in the role.
I don't think they'd get either of them. I think they're in too much. I think they're in too much demand to commit to. You know, if we're talking about a commitment to a full series or 2 or 3, I think they're simply in too much demand, and that window's closed.
One last thing I want to say right now is that, in a general sense, I think that picking an actor for the Doctor before the production team is chosen, I think, is doomed to fail. Because all that means is that we're going to get a BBC executive committee who's going to be making the choice, and that just won't work.
Absolutely,
it's irresistible. The eternal quandary that we find ourselves in every few years, David. And to be honest, there's a lot of people think about it constantly on a loop, whether the part is vacant or not. People have very strong ideas about it, and despite what the bookies are saying, and despite where the common sense, where that is pointing to, Charlotte, you know, you've got to stop casting women in this role. Anybody can see that. Despite that, there is still a small, diminishing presence on social media who insist otherwise, including a baby girl Chibnall. So that's not baby girl Chibnall on X, who posted this very defiantly, stating, "I promise you, the solution to Billie Piper not being the Doctor is not casting a white man." So forget about the fact that the part's been phenomenally successful pretty much every time a white man has played it. We'll gloss over that, according to baby girl Chibnall here, who obviously is not biased or not on some sort of campaign of any kind there, David.
Just a bit of casual racism there, Dan, you know, for the person to put out there, you know. I don't personally care. I don't see an issue with a female Doctor, but not at the moment. It needs a really safe pair of hands. It needs to be grounded back into its origins. It needs to be firmly established again. It needs to be experimental in a sort of a way. You could look at the different runtime of episodes, but my top 3 would be, and I'm a little bit upset not to see them in the odds, you know, would be, and Gary and Charlotte certainly know this person, Chris Marshall, Rafe Spall, and Rory Kinnear. That's my top. They, I believe, are the best type of character actors who you know who you're going to get. Chris Marshall, very quirky, and has always, for me, should have been cast
years ago
after Peter Capaldi. He should have been cast because he is so the character of the Doctor. Rafe Spall, very, very good actor, very good character actor. Safe pair of hands from the Spall acting family. And again, Rory Kinnear, whose dad was Roy Kinnear, again, brilliant character actor. really safe, good
I
pair
always
of
get
hands.
both of those two guys mixed up, and I think they play a lot of the similar kind of parts. And I think that because Chris Marshall, we're used to seeing him lead shows. He's got mountains of charisma, but I suspect that there probably are lead actors in those other two gentlemen as well. Who'd have thought that Martin Freeman would be a candidate 20 years ago when he was Tim from The Office? And now I think we'd be really lucky to have him. I think it'd be terrific in the role of the Doctor. What do the bookies know? What do the bookies... Does anybody really take it seriously what the bookies have to say anymore? Do you think? I mean, it's one of those kind of tabloidy things, isn't it? And obviously there's still a large proportion of adults do like a flutter, and obviously there's people who will bet on just about anything, Charlotte. So I would imagine that although they're not taking bets on this currently, they probably will sometime soon. So I would imagine that the lanes will open up considerably, and maybe some of David's candidates may surface again, or some of the other old favourites that we're used to seeing join this list could well start to fill out the various columns in the next few weeks. So I'm expecting that.
I think nothing will start to go like a ball rolling until the BBC officially answer the Billie Piper issue. Billie's their top billing, because if you go off the screen of what we physically saw after Reality War, she was at the end of Shooty's regeneration. Like, that's all they're going off, and that's all they can go off, because like I said, we're in this weird void of no information, nothing clear from the showrunner being said. So we don't know. And I think, so those names have sort of been pulled from, like, a couple of weeks ago, Erin's name out of nowhere suddenly was everywhere. And even she had to come out and say, sorry guys, this isn't from me. I have no idea why people are putting my name forward, basically. Freeman, it's probably because, like you said, he's such a good actor. He's such a well-known British actor now. Like I said, Hiddleston's always been said about this part. But I agree with David just with this idea of a character actor. And I think actually, because of how hard it probably is to get the actors coming in a little bit at the moment, there's probably a better odd than ever that we will get a character actor again in this role. Because the big names just won't touch it. Or the actors that sort of see it as a risky, they won't. So it will probably be either like a Matt situation again, of somebody who's had a couple of things but nothing major, and it can be seen as this is going to be my launching pad, or it's going to be somebody who's been on telly for years and years, doing character parts, doing small parts.
Like David suggested.
Like one I've said, I think Tom Burke would be good in this part.
And I love
he's
Tom
another really good character actor we've got in the UK.
Brilliant.
Who people know his face, but he's not had a major absolute breakout hit. He's had Strike, he's had a few things.
Yeah.
But he's not had that top tier sort of role yet, and I think he would be good for that. But I think it's going to be his sort of ilk that we'll probably get going forward with this part.
Things could turn around with the right creative lead. Again, not wishing to go over old ground, because we know how we all feel about this now, and certainly people on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, I think we know how one of the feels right about now. Our fatigue has fatigue, as the saying goes. But if you remember, Paul McGann gave that interview a couple of months ago to the Jerry Anderson podcast, and he was talking about his career, generally, Charlotte, as a character actor. And he said, so in the 80s, when he's really looking to make his mark, and he'd been in things, but nothing that had really kind of made his name. And the advice that he was given by someone, and I can't remember who it was, but the advice that he was given was get a part in a hit on TV and be good in it. And then you'll find that opportunities begin to open up. And Doctor Who, I believe, is still at its core purest concept, and who it should be aimed at is the ideal platform for somebody to do just that. We'll have to wait and see when we look. Everything and anyone has got to go down considerably better than the last guy, I'd say, on with the benefit of a couple of years worth of hindsight. Doctor Who's back this coming Christmas. If you've forgotten, Christmas seems a long way off at the moment. It'll be round faster than you think. I expect that selection boxes will start appearing in the shops in just a few weeks' time. Come to think of it, David. Not quite so soon for the Doctor Who annual, and the annuals, generally speaking. So this is a follow-up on an item we had a couple of weeks ago. We covered the fact that the next in the long line of Doctor Who annuals is due to be published this summer, after all, despite the low profile of the series. We covered about how stock of the 2026 edition, there it is, with the lovely Varada and the not so lovely Shooty Gatworth there, that was now rocking in at 99p at certain outlets. You can complete your collection if you must and get that. But yeah, there's another one. There's another one coming up. Despite that, we got the placeholder cover a few weeks ago, but now we have the real cover. Charlotte, our curiosity has been rewarded. You'll be pleased to learn. And who is going to be on the cover this time? We had wondered who are they going to put there, dead center in the official Doctor Who annuals front cover, and we find none of them. Just the TARDIS. Yeah. Just the TARDIS this time. And a very particular colour scheme, Gary. I'm not one for this sort of talk. I don't go on about wokeism all the time and those sort of talking points, but I do know what colour scheme that is, and this is starting to get on my picks. Yeah. What do you think?
Of course. And it says, what is that? Celebrating the best of Doctor Who for the past 20 years, which is what I suggested back when we were first talking about that.
Yeah, you did.
That it was going to be a placeholder best of. I think probably everything in this is going to be a lift from old times. I don't think there'll be like a one-page article saying who's next with basically no information, and then the rest of it will be a reprint. But
it would be a double page spread. Remember when we fucked this up? Remember when we screwed that?
This is like this. They should just put the word placeholder on this cover somewhere, because that's where it is. But I mean, I can't. I guess the days of the Tom Baker time tunnel are just forever behind us.
It's a different kind of tunnel, David. These are, of course, the colours of the what is it? The trans movement flag, aren't they? That there can't be any coincidence. The insistence that this brand has to be stapled to a particular group, any group. It's one thing to speak to a group or an assortment of groups. Nobody's against inclusivity, but this is borderline omnipresence now, and it really is too much, and acts as a kind of barrier, because I do believe that people take this stuff in subliminally.
Yeah. And it comes back to, and excuse me, it's a slight little tangent. But people are saying in the Star Trek world, as well as Doctor Who, well, it's not for you. Well, that's absolute claptrap. Absolute claptrap. It should be for everybody, from every background, from every culture, for every belief. And it should be for everybody. It shouldn't be just targeted to one specific demographic that you're trying to woo over. It should be everybody that you're trying to move over. And there is a room in such a universe as Doctor Who or whatever IP you have for everybody to have characters from all across the spectrum. Please just try and make it like that again. And I thought to myself after seeing, Gary's, I wonder if they'll have a feature called "Whose Skirt Is It Anyway?" And we can sort of like have a number of little skirts up to decide what character wore that skirt. But that's just me having a laugh. Okay, in case anybody's watching, I am making a joke. Okay, I am being humorous. Okay, so but I do see your point. And it just does my head in for people executives to think that they have to pander to certain people. No, just make it mass. The way that things work is that if you make it mass appeal, people lap it up. But if you don't make it mass appeal, or if you try and attract a certain type of viewer, then you're alienating 90+% of the audience. So make it mass appeal. that they could have had all the Doctors' faces on that annual.
No reason why not.
No reason why not. Or a combination of a collage of the covers as we see in front of us over the last 20 years. And they could have made it really accessible for all and just go, wow, what a cover. I'm definitely going to buy that.
There's a reason, David, why even now, and although it has changed and they've gone up in value, there's a reason why the annuals from 73, 74 through to 1984, 85, there's a reason why you still see those in secondhand shops for reasonable prices. It's because they sold a shit ton. The show was popular. This was a quality item of merchandise that was a surefire hit, if not for your own kids, because they wanted it, and for somebody else's kids. It was a great gift item for any kid. Whereas now, I'm not so sure. I don't think this is sending out the right images. I think that Doctor Who's got a problem, obviously, with, speaking as one of them now, with having an aging fan base. And this isn't going to speak to me. It's not going to speak to children. It's not going to speak to anybody really, other than a very small proportion of the waiting audience. Anybody who, it's not going to re-stimulate interest in somebody who did get on board 20 years ago. And I think that's a great shame, because the TARDIS is obviously instantly recognizable. And so if people do look at it, they will be put off by everything around it. The Doctor Who annual should be an ideal gift for a Christmas for anybody, and it shouldn't even exist if it can't fill that gap. But there it is. It's out, Gary. We've got the date. It's published on the 20th of August, 2026. Obviously, you've got your pre-order in already, mate. It's
well, I just want to say that if I were the kid that you were just kind of talking about, Dan, all in all, I probably would rather have a pair of socks than this annual.
And I'm sorry, it's boring. Like, I'm
Yes,
fed up.
yes.
In the last couple of years, if you put all that collection you add up, why is it that the only colour or the only design idea we seem to have is to have one block colour or sort of a main colour, and that's it. Like, and one image if you're lucky. Like, if you look at even if you look at like that Eccleston one, the first one with Eccleston, that's an imaginative image. You've got the Earth, you've got the TARDIS, you've got the Doctor, you've got Billy, you've got the stars, you've got so many different elements that are interesting, versus last year just is orange, that's all you're getting with a TARDIS. And now we've just got his purple, blue, but they're all quite tepid colours. They're not evocative colours. Just as, like, if you look at that on a shelf, that's what I'm thinking about here.
It looks like some of the... Sorry.
And it's just... Whereas if you had maybe the TARDIS with some stars and planets behind it, or like a Milky Way behind it, or like the TARDIS flying in the sky with like
well, the thing is, Charlotte, they obviously decided what this annual was going to be, what the premise was going to be, what the unique selling point was going to be quite a time ago, because we had the blurb here and Gary correctly identified what the content was going to be. So you would think they would have every Doctor from Eccleston through to Shooting Gateway, you could have him quite small in the background, should be represented on this cover somewhere. And you could sort of bring in all sorts of elements, and you could even sort of mix it up with the branding a little bit, so that at least people would, if they turned it around and saw the back cover, and there'd be an image from the Tennant era or something like that, that would make them go, oh, or just something to re-stimulate, to regenerate interest in it. If you've got to hit people with the nostalgia, then do it, because these are desperate times for the brand.
Or like, have your TARDIS be one TARDIS, but have it be different bits of the TARDIS from different Doctors.
That's a great idea.
So like, have the windows from Matt's TARDIS, but have like the St. John and the open from Tennant's, and then the top of it could be Eccleston's. Like, you could really. And I've just thought of these. I've not like spent all day thinking about this. I've literally just been thinking at the back of my head while we've been talking.
It's a great
not that
idea,
hard.
Charlotte. It isn't that hard at all, and I do think that Penguin are rather asleep at the wheel on this. I certainly wouldn't gift anybody this anymore, whether it was for Christmas or their birthdays, which is a segue into this item. John Barrowman celebrated his 59th birthday this week. Gary took time to share his day with social media followers and talked about his family life and plans for the remainder of the year. He's got a tour coming up and various other things. And he got into a few arguments as well. But he was decorated here with some fan art. This came from an account. P.S. Sean, not safe for work or safe for work. Sean can't make up his mind, but there we go. He knocked up this cartoon of Captain Jack, John Barrowman there with chiseled jaw and stormy skies. I thought that was pretty good. Happy 59th birthday to Mr. John Barrowman, who played Captain Jack Harkness, companion to the 9th Doctor and the 10th Doctor on Doctor Who and Torchwood. And John was touched, I think, very touched to receive this, but he did step in with with an editorial correction. He added, "Don't forget 13. I was there to boost the ratings."
Burn.
This
I'm
caused
surprised he said that.
This caused somewhat of an uproar over on X, Charlotte. So you hadn't heard about this?
No, like this is what we were all joking about when they announced him.
Well, he doesn't have any. What does he have to lose? You know, it's the truth.
It is, but
it is the truth. It is the truth. It's just surprising to see him go with it. He did get some flack for this, but he stood by his guns. And to be honest, I can't say I blame him. He was brought in to boost those ratings. They kind of accidentally on purpose leaked the fact that he was going to be in it that week for that god-awful fugitive of the Jadoon episode because they wanted everybody to see that because of what they were going to do to the Lord, didn't they, Gary? But they knew that because the series was face planting in popularity that nobody was going to see it. So they accidentally leaked it out that John Barrowman was going to be there, knowing that people would turn up to see him.
Well, I will take your word for it because it's 2026. I am still flux free. I have yet to sit down and partake of that particular season of joy. But you know, I just think that, I mean, first of all, good for him for saying it. Good for him for not giving two darns for saying it. And I just think if we're gonna get out of this tunnel of insanity that we've been in for the last 10 years, we've got to have people just willing to speak their mind, to speak the truth, and not apologize for it.
Yeah.
There you go.
I couldn't agree more. John, he's still a very, very popular figure in the Doctor Who community and appears at conventions all over the world. Yeah, he's been very public about some of the demons that he's been fighting over the last few years for one reason or another. And he talks about his family life as well. I know that his parents are getting very elderly now in advanced years, and he and Scott are now caring for them in their own home. So he's sharing a lot about that as well, which I know is something that a great many people all over the world can relate to. So follow John Barrowman for that. And even though it's not his birthday anymore, I don't think he'll mind if you wish him a happy birthday anyway and send him all of the best there for knocking up another year around the sun. He's on tour with My Life in Musicals. This one, David, can be tempted to get a ticket for this. This is My Life in Musicals. So the tour starts next month, April 2026, runs right the way through to May for the first leg. And then there's a second leg that runs from September through to October. You get both legs and both cheeks. I don't. Tickets are selling fast, apparently. They do sell well for these, Gary. I don't know if he brings it to your part of the world, but yeah.
Barrowman has the legs and Shooty has the knees.
I couldn't agree more.
Is he still living in California? I thought, didn't he have a home like that in Palm Springs or something?
He is at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's still got a gaff in Wales as well. But there we are. So that is what's happening for the moment in Doctor Who. See, there is. Don't look so. There is. If you know where to look, There's plenty to see. I can see.
She's, you know why she has that.
Um,
You know why she has that
Oh my
expression.
goodness me!
You know why she has that expression, Dan? Because she's still waiting for you to text her.
Yeah.
I think it's the opposite way round.
He said he would be back in 10 minutes.
That's
Yeah,
right.
It's now 20 minutes.
It's a mean. Keep them keen. That's what I always say. In the meantime, she knows where to find me. I'm here at Type 40 Live. You can catch up with past editions of the show and the playlists, of course, our news reports, our weekly coverage of everything happening in Doctor Who, and there's our deep dives and event shows too. Of course, there is the Type 40 podcast across all major podcatchers and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. As always, with lots more of that to stick in your ears. Varada, you can sort of plug it into the bottom of your phone there and get loaded with more of us than you could possibly handle. This is Type 40 Live, Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. The double entendres are coming thick and fast, and there's more news than you could have possibly imagined to discover. So stay tuned. We've got a lot more to cover. We'll put a smile on your face, whether you want it there, or not. Okay, where next? Who should we connect with? I think them.
Hello, this is Sue Molden. On behalf of the team, I'd like to say how overwhelmed and extremely grateful we are to everyone who has donated so far. The response has been magnificent, and we are especially grateful to those who have pledged regular donations. A big thank you from all of us at Film is Fabulous.
There you go. She means you. She means you, everybody. Thank you for being so patient, folks in the live chat. Let's go and catch up and see who's rolled in for another tour of duty here with Type 40 Live. We've got, Steve Braddock's in. Film is fabulous, says Stephen. I'm not going to argue with that at all, Gary.
Nice picture this week, Stephen. Very, very good.
Fly Highlands in too. He's all heart-eyed for Romana there, as played by Lalla Ward. Yeah, she was a favourite of mine when I was a child. Peter Harrington's in too. He's also waiting on Varada to get back to I think.
Miss See-Through. Good Lord.
There you go. That should have been the slogan of the season. Get her home. And to Dan Hadley.
Oh, if only. Is she watching Flux on the iPlayer on the Whoniverse app? We'll never know. We'll never know this. Dear me, I could crack the most awful joke.
We know what it is. That's the thing.
You know, Charlotte, normally you're such a moderating, calming influence on this stream, and it's not working today.
I've got to be honest.
My limit, Gary. Okay, I'm trying.
I'm feeling. I believe the word is impish. So like impish.
Yes.
So I could say anything at any time. Woodhouse 122 says, I like John Barrowman, but that show sounds like my idea of hell. Tough crowd, John.
Woodhouse, you not want a bit of razzle dazzle, like a bit of show tunes?
We are trying to wrangle a crowd for you, buddy, to sell the remaining tickets. A lot of people go to these things. He's very, very popular. He was a great sport in the Five-ish Doctors. Yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Stephen? He was. Terrified Monk is giving JB a few tips there on styling. He should stop dyeing his hair. He would look good as the Silver Fox. He does go au natural sometimes. Yeah. And he even goes with natural hair color as well, because obviously he has gone into trouble in the past. But yes, so he does do the Silver Fox look sometimes. He's very, I think he likes to experiment. So you get him with all sorts of different hair colors depending on the role which he's playing at the time. So yeah, I wouldn't say he's he's not a chameleon. He's not Michael Sheen, but yeah, he does go with it. Yeah. Rose Curb is in. Philip Roy's in too. We've got him. We've got Big T as well. He's rocked up as well. Greetings and salutations from a slightly soggy Lancashire. Sounds like he's had the same conditions. You've been fighting the elements as well, haven't you, Charlotte, out there? And
yes.
Big T's there with you too.
So I would have had slightly soggy over what I had.
Got drenched from top to toe, bless her heart. You'll never get the truth from Russell T. Davis, says Farsight.
You will not.
Not a chance, not in a million years. Yeah, it's just not going to happen, is it? Not going to happen. And what else have we got? Wowzers, says Richard Brooks. So that could be in response to pretty much anything that we put on screen so far, I think. So you could definitely narrow that down for us, Richard. But we do aim to please, obviously. We do our level best here always. Good to see you back with us. Yeah, and the chat has jumped, which is usually a good sign that people have got quite a lot to say. Oh, I didn't know that, says Terrified Monk. I'm not up to date on my John Barrowman lore. Now, well, go and follow him on social media, and you'll see he regularly shares updates of what his hair color is that week. And who knows what he's going to do for the 20th anniversary of Torchwood. We'll certainly be watching for all of that. But I like the fact that he got this one in. I don't think this was... I don't think this was too much. Nicholas Horton's in from wet and windy Walsall. Walsall's wet and windy when the rest of the country's fine, isn't it? Yeah, Nicholas. That's never mind, mate. Never mind. We'll dry you off here, at least spiritually, if not literally. I know. What's wrong with me, David?
You're going to break David by the end of this stream.
We've had a slightly soggy Charlotte, and now you're toweling off Nicholas. So, you know.
Oh, God. Look, yes, stay tuned, everybody, because it could go all over the map this time. I think it already has. We'll try and get it back on track, although we can't promise anything. Who else? Zach's in as well. Zach's back with Zach. Tom's clocking into from T-Dwarf. I'm making some fish people from that story.
Underwater
Which
Menace.
Story?
Underwater Menace, it has to be.
Underwater Menace, it's got to be.
I think it's from the Underwater Menace, or it could be from... oh, no, you're quite right. Did you know that Zaroff had a pet lionfish in his lab? No, I didn't know that, or I'd forgotten.
I didn't know.
Because I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have that information back in the memory banks. Happy Thursday, says Rob Alexander. I couldn't agree more. Rob, welcome back to the live chat. Keep them coming. We need more of that because there's a lot more to say about stuff you may have missed or stuff that you haven't. We're going to ramble on about it anyway, right after a quick word from him.
Perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. The Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguile!
Still soggy.
Furries.
The Soggy Saga continues here. We're all waiting very patiently, if a bit more dry here, under this huge umbrella. We're waiting on news of returned classic episodes that are continuing to kind of percolate out there, aren't they? Courtesy of Film is Fabulous. They have confirmed in recent weeks success in acquiring a number of the collections that they told us about late last year. So they have acquired a couple of collections. Our stance here at Type 40 will always be to keep in mind the position that Film is Fabulous is in as a charity, and that they are seeking to achieve to bring as much back to the archives as they possibly can for a whole myriad of shows, not just Doctor Who and not just TV shows either. There's radio shows and classic movies as well. We're looking to what was said last year. We've got this quote here from John Franklin at Film is Fabulous. Give us the space to conclude the things that we're doing. You will be very, very happy with the announcements when they come. But we just need the space to be able to do that now. So whilst the months are ticking on and Doctor Who fans are hardly known for our patience, in this instance, more than ever, I mean, patience is always a good quality, but in this instance, more than ever, I think it is really the only way to go. This is the best support we can give. Obviously, there's the link to, that's in the video description, every edition of this show. Leave the experts alone to do their sensitive and diplomatic work, I suppose, to negotiate and to publicize what they can as soon as they can. This week, we've heard from the deeply respected former BBC expert archivist Sue Molden. She's somewhat of a darling of Doctor Who fans. I don't think she could really put a foot wrong with us. She's kind of like the Dame Judi Dench of the missing episode saga, isn't she? We adore this woman, and she's spoken this week to Film is Fabulous. This is over on their YouTube channel. I don't know if anybody's caught this. It's quite a slight interview. I can't recommend it highly enough, though. So it's she talks about her life, her career with the BBC, Charlotte, and how she found her way into archiving sort of from university, because it's a very peculiar story. There can't be too many people who lived a life like Sue. She's talking again to Tim Burrows, who's a friend of the show and the host of the Missing Episodes podcast. So I just want to support them in what they're doing, really, and get over there and go and listen to that. But obviously don't listen to it until after you've finished up with us here, because what I want, their YouTube channel is desperately undersubscribed. So obviously the more people go over there to hear that interview, Gary, the more revenue they start to make from that as well, which obviously goes back into the charity how it can. But has anybody made time to listen to this yet? Have you heard it, David? Have you caught this since you've been back?
It's on my list of things to listen to. It really is, because it popped up the other day and I've bookmarked it. So I am going to listen to it because I loved the original podcast that the team did. And I'm definitely going to listen to it, because I've read little bits around it about how she, started in her work of being an archivist, and then suddenly tried to start to investigate how much of Doctor Who had been wiped, and the reaction when she found out the exact number. So I am looking forward to hearing it actually as a whole, because I find their interviews that they do a combination between very academic, very insightful, but also really engaging, and just they're just a joy to listen to. So I'm really looking forward to doing that.
There's no fat on these, Gary. I think they're very careful to not speak in tongues, and to not leave us with more questions than we have answers. Because they're not under any obligation to tell us anything at all, are they? But it's the cultivation gradually of a relationship between those who donate to the charity, any interested parties at all, and obviously making sure that they represent their position and their goals to anybody, any film collector out there, or the families of film collectors who may wish to contact them and furnish them with more material, I suppose. So it's all in a better effort to get more back in the archives.
Well, that's what came through to me. I haven't listened to this interview yet. I didn't even know there was a new one, but on the first interview that they did about a year ago, that's what struck me, is they really were at pains to explain to people what they do and what they don't do, to clear up any misconceptions. And in that little brief audio clip that you played before, I mean, I'm sure she is sincerely grateful and probably, overwhelmed by all the donations and the generosity, because that allows them to do more of what they hope to do. But of course, they're relying on money to fulfill the plans that they have. And I'm sure that they see it not as an obligation, but I'm sure that they see it as, something that they want to do for the people who've taken the time to donate, is to check in basically and give them an update on, here's what your donations have helped us do, that kind of reciprocal back and forth. So I'm looking forward to hearing the update.
Yeah,
it's nice to put. I suppose, Charlotte, I've always wondered how somebody would go about getting into a position like that, and more to the point, why they'd come back to it after so many years in retirement.
Well, yeah, she's always come across to me as quite an interesting woman. Like whenever she has given her interviews in the past or bits of like her being quoted, she comes across as sort of she's lived a life. And I'm saying that with the biggest compliments, because back in that day, you had to do hard graft to get the positions you got in TV or in sort of the BBC and stuff. The jobs weren't just given out. You had to prove your mettle. And so for her to get as high as she did, and for the amount of clearly good work she's done, she knows a lot. So I think the more she can sort of show that depth of knowledge, the better. And the other aspect is, I think just in general for film is fabulous. The more they can get that personal link with people, because the problem is with the BBC at times it feels like this sort of faceless big sort of group. And there's nothing to touch, like to have that connection. Whereas if the people that Film is Fabulous can do these little interviews, can show themselves and talk about their life story, we're going to trust them more. And I think that they know that, and they seem so aware that the biggest currency they've got is actually trust and people wanting to sort of let them do what they need to do. So this is all going to be brilliant for that. And like I said, Sue seems like a very interesting, capable, intelligent woman. So the more that can be shown off, the better.
Zach Witten in the live chat says Sue Molden is a legend. I know that is something that's echoed by a lot of Doctor Who fans, and probably enthusiasts of film. Generally speaking, Gary, I think she's one in a million. This woman, as is Steve Andrews. Well, not a woman, but you never know, do you? There was a woman called Steve in Fleetwood Mac, I think so. Steve Andrews has just subscribed to the channel. Thank you, Steve. Welcome to the wonderful world of Type 40. And Woodhouse122 says that Tim's missing episode Doctor Who podcast released a special this week on the Underwater Menace there. So that's one for Tom Alford as well. Yeah, Tim is a good guy, and they are the authority when it comes to this subject. I love Hartnell's Doctor, but I want more Patrick Troughton. Sir Stephen Braddock, that internal quandary that we all face as Doctor Who fans. More once more, Gary, more once more. But we can only have whatever, whenever, in due course, in good time, can't we? But it's still an exciting time. I don't think anybody can blame us for being excited, can they?
No, I think that because we don't know what we're going to get out of this haul. I mean, it could be, a huge announcement, whatever. Even if it's one, I mean, that's one more kind of like gem that we don't have now, and it's just kind of waiting to see like how big the treasure is.
I think that's the only way to look at it. I think that's the healthiest way to look at the situation that we're all in, and we just give them as much of our support as we possibly can. So yeah, thank you everybody for that, for indulging that short update, because obviously we can't tell you anything, but we just want to have a position on this matter to be abundantly, resoundingly clear. The link is in the description of every single bit of material we put out to at Type 40, whether it's a live stream like this or a podcast of any kind. And we do hope, obviously, to be here with you guys in due course, celebrating and debating, don't we, David? It's all part of being a community.
It is. And that's the most important thing, is that we are a community. And as Gary quite rightly said, even if it's one episode more than we've got at the moment. So I know we've all got our favorite sort of wants in amongst us all and within the community, but it is all about us as a community remaining supportive and keeping those fingers and toes crossed, and just remaining that little bit more patient. And news, I'm certain, will come soon.
Couldn't agree more. So let us know your thoughts in the live chat. Obviously, you're allowed to drop your sort of fantasy comebacks to the archive. Of course you are. We between us, you can guarantee that whichever episodes you're hoping for, you've got your fingers and toes crossed for. Some of us probably feel exactly the same way as you do. So yeah, you're amongst friends. Let that all fly here by all means. Zach Whitton wants more Shooter Gatwell returned. Or maybe maybe not. I think we've all seen enough of him. Some Doctors we've had our fill of course, in just over a year of screen time, but there are other Doctors we can't get enough of, even after 56 years, Charlotte. There can't be too many of us that aren't really familiar with the third Doctor's debut story, Spearhead from Space. After all this time, I'm not even a big Pertwee era fan, but I know every moment of this. And it seems, though, that against the odds, there's more to discover even about this. But for this item, I've got to head back to X, which is a platform which I I recommend heartily. I get a lot out of that. I find it's a great hub for the creative community, and you can see sort of stories breaking in real time about some of the most unexpected things, and this certainly falls into that bracket. Spearhead from Space, of course, a beautiful looking story shot on film back in 1969, launched the third Doctor's era, and has been released. I think this has to be the story that's been released almost as many times as the Five Doctors. It turns out, though, that there's been a discovery, a brand new discovery here. And Richard Latto talked about this on his X account. Now, Richard is a fan, obviously a huge fan, but he does work in broadcasting, in radio and television. He's involved with Rewind TV, which is a fairly new outlet we've talked about a couple of times, I think, on this show. And he's got a radio show and all manner of things. I think he's involved in restoration himself as well. But he announced a few days ago this clapperboard, he says, attached to a video that he was sharing. This clapperboard is apparently from an abandoned original ending to the Doctor Who story Spearhead from Space. And the dates line up with the original shoot that Barry Letts then had to go and reshoot. So this is what he shared. Wrinkly sepia images. Nobody I recognize. But it's fascinating to think that something like this can turn up after over 55 years, Charlotte.
Like, that video was a bit eerie. Like I just got a weird feeling from it, probably because, like you said, it's the old technique with the camera you can see in that film. That it looks like people just wandering around a set a little bit. But it's fascinating that this has turned up just out of nowhere by the sounds of it.
Pretty much, as I understand it. I mean, there's been various reels that have been secured by Richard and the people that he works with separately from film. Is fabulous. So they're not. I know they're in communication, but they're not sort of involved. So this is an entirely separate thing. But I was really excited to read about this. And so was Richard Bignall here, who is obviously the Doctor Who historian. Who goes to the written archive, doesn't he, to look at all the old paperwork from Doctor Who from throughout the decades. So even he seemed surprised by this, and he asked Richard, "Can you read the clapperboard date for this clip?" So everybody seemed fascinated with this one. Gary, had you heard about this?
I hadn't, and it really is fascinating. I was. So are we to assume that those individual shots that had people in them, like the woman who was standing in what looked like a house, that those are scenes from the original, what they're calling the original ending?
Some sort of original final scene, yeah.
Because final scene. I was going to say, because I don't
been filmed at Wood Norton, maybe, like the rest of it.
I mean, as possibly, like maybe like an epilogue scene, possibly after. Well, it would have been. I don't know. I'm trying to piece it together in my mind. It wouldn't have been the final scene after Smith, Dr. John Smith, because that's like a perfect ending for it. So maybe like between him defeating the Nestine and the final scene in the lab, like something like that. But then I'm trying to think what house would that be? Like what scene from the story would that house be the setting for a scene? Maybe like one of the I don't know, like a briefing or something. I don't know.
The
I was thinking
general,
maybe
when you
going
get
back to maybe if I go back to the paperback, the Target novel or something,
Yeah.
David, I'm thinking, well, should I go and look for clues in the old archive articles from Doctor Who magazine? Because this has only been in the last couple of days that this is broken.
is
But
it
it's fun,
General
'cause I haven't
Scobie?
heard.
General Scobie's house, where he answers the door, and there's the facsimile of him in front of him.
But that's not the ending of the story.
No, what I'm thinking of, it could have been some things that he had to reshoot that were out of sequence, if you see what I mean. So we're thinking we're applying a sort of linear aspect to it, rather than they could have had several scenes that they were shooting, but they were out of sequence. But then when edited, do you know
Put
what
that
I'm saying?
together, basically, so like Jigsaw.
Yes. So General Scobie's house could have been filmed after the ending. So they don't always shoot in sequence, do they? As
No,
per
never.
episode sequence. So it could be from another scene that they filmed when General Scobie answers the door.
Oh, now you've got me thinking. I mean,
Do you know what I'm saying?
This is the pile of films that Richard Latto shared initially. So he says, thanks to the help of many people on social media, we have been able to identify several of the programs featured in the intriguing reel of clips and segments, many of them confirmed as missing sequences or programs. So this is a productive use of social media. Now, we slag off social media here, but if it's filling in these gaps, or more to the point, I suppose, bringing into the light things that we didn't even know existed in the first place, that's incredible after all this time. I think, and, you know, all the paperwork and everything else, it's all fascinating. I mean, it's a real rabbit hole. I leave it to the proper the people who are really into this stuff to think about. But Charlotte, when I can see film, when I can see people moving, I think, oh my God, that's something tangible. If I can watch it, if I can sort of feel it, and you do get a feeling of something, even if it is a sort of unquantifiable eeriness, it exists. It's real. I can't wait to find out more.
Well, this is a mystery which is fun. Like, that's the difference. Like, because like David was like, oh, what if it's this scene? And he was like picking up, and Gary was picking up, and like it's clear that online people have all come together. And I think with Doctor Who fans, we love like finding these secrets, don't we? We love sort of, oh, we didn't know about this. Let's fix it. I think we all have a bit of that need somewhere in us who love this show. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's lovely when that's what I did like about when the watch along started. Like, that had a real feel of everybody just coming together on Twitter. People were just enjoying Doctor Who, watching it, exchanging memories. It's that sort of feeling of, I think it's so easy with all the noise for us to forget that when we don't have that noise as a community, we can actually all get on. And I think we need to remember that now and again, because it's easily forgotten. I
couldn't agree more. And I also think that as a community, we can be a lot of us kind of behave like we're almost like professors, that we're very learned on this subject, and almost that nobody can know more about this than me. But the truth of the matter is, there's always somebody who knows more than you. There's always something else to find out. And if we can sort of pull together knowledge, David, or memories, for example, you think if you've got sort of 15, 20 people who remember a trailer for the very first episode of Doctor Who from 1963, but a diminishing, a very small number of people, you get them all together, they can compare notes about what that trailer was like. And of course, we can't make that missing trailer exist, but we can, by listening to all of those people, probably get to a place where it can be recreated, where we can have a representation of what it was, and be pretty close to the mark by sort of cross-angulating the different memories of the different people. And I think that this is the strength of any community, just as Charlotte was saying. It's a wonderful story, I thought.
It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I just love the fact that people will pull together and put their squabbling aside when it comes to these sort of things, because these because we often hear of the worst of the community, but we really do need to remember and concentrate on the fact of the best and the good of the community in projects like this. And you talk about the initial trailer to the whole of the first episode. I mean, without people like Ian Levine, of whom just transcribed everything, from into his books, and can talk about what he saw, all this. And I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful historical artifact.
I've been thinking about the part of that which said, let's decide to rewrite it. So I'm thinking about, okay, so after the final scene of the story, after they defeat the nesting with that machine, it's like it's like an instant cut, and then you see Channing like melted. He's kind of turned back into an Auton. And then they do like a jump cut to the final scene. And there's a lot of explanations, like even the brig asking the doctor, so did it work? And you have to think the brig wouldn't wait until they got all the way back there to ask him, oh, did it work? Are they coming back? That would have been a discussion they had in the car, So and then they get into the whole setup for the premise about, do you want me to be scientific advisor and all of that? But I'm thinking more in terms of like wrapping up the nesting story. So I'm wondering if there was some scene either set at the general's house or something with one of the victims of the Autons, who to basically they're giving him explanation. He's going, is it over? It is over. And they're going to tell him that. And then Let's could have thought, well, no, we need to, at that point, we need to kind of like wrap it up, not do more exposition. So maybe he chopped that scene and rewrote it in just a couple of lines to give to the brig in the lab to kind of wrap up the whole, are they coming back? No, we think it's fine. And then immediately you're there in the spot where they're going to do the whole.
Well, you can see, Gary, it's not just you. People in the live chat here, they've had their imaginations stimulated by this as well. People coming up with various scenarios.
I actually think it was after the tank reshoot, because at that point the story is over. You want to kind of do then what you need to do to set up the premise of the rest of the season, and you're out. So he could have thought, well, no, we've defeated the monster, let's wrap it up, and got rid of maybe another talky scene, where they're talking to the general or something, maybe.
Funky speculates this could be one new extra special feature on a potential 4K release of Spearhead from Space. I can't believe that potentially I could be buying that story again in some steel book. I don't know.
Times now, is it, Dan? You've got 7 different editions.
Mate, it's getting up there.
No, what they need to do? What they need to do on the 4K, they need to put our discussion about it on the 4K of Spearhead. Send us the forms. We'll sign off on it.
We'll be contributors, vintage type 40 material. Corvin has joined us in the live chat. Of all the completely missing stories, I think I want the Mythmakers found the most. Lots of people with lots of different picks. I think everybody's quite excited about this Spearhead from Space revelation as well. Stephen says it looks like the interior of the house from Evil of the Daleks. I think it's most likely to be Wood Norton, I would say. Spearhead from Space, the shower scene. Where did the Doctor get those tattoos? Another one we'll never know. We'll never know. But people are definitely stimulated. Rob Alexander says mention of Paul Temple on that document is interesting, given it was where Derek Sherwin moved on to after Doctor Who. Spearhead from Space was Derek Sherwin's final round, wasn't it, in the barrel that he got with Doctor Who. I love this picture. Anything candid like this from this time, Gary, I'm a sucker for this sort of thing, particularly when you can see the leads larking about. It's fabulous. When did Derek Sherwin die? It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it? I saw him give a fabulous interview once to a captive crowd. It was absolutely fascinating. He's very good, much like Stephen Moffat, self-deprecating sense of humor.
It's I'm a big fan of the of his, not only his style, because that kind of harder edge that he brought to some of the season 6 stories, but I love the original, because he was there for the original conception of what season 7 might have been. That originally Jamie was going to arrive with the doctor, and he would be in that first story, and then at the end he was going to leave and become like a laird of a castle or something. And so just that era where so much was changing and they were abandoning ideas and picking up new ones that he was a part of, I love hearing about that time.
The story continues, everybody. The story continues against the odds. So yes, stay sighted, stay tuned, stay cool when it comes to Film is Fabulous, and keep the faith. Absolutely. And we'll be right with you as anything hopefully breaks in due course. Link in the description. As always, let's take a break for a cuppa, would you think? To answer a call of nature, if needs be, but just to top yourself up otherwise. One more blast from the past. Take the Spearhead. Yeah, take the Spearhead back in time to 1970 itself, when John Pertwee was taking over the series. Right at that time, these adverts in this selection, they were filling up the screens over on the other side. So even though Doctor Who was in colour, some of these ads were in black and white. We'll be back in a couple of minutes right after this Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break.
From £300 to £3.19.
Are you nervous cooking for your husband's boss?
Does your mother-in-law outshine you?
Would you like to impress that Mrs. Jones next door? You can do it with Craddock Cookery. Come and join Johnny and me each week in our kitchen. We think you'll have just as much fun as we do.
Can you truss a chicken?
Bone meat, fillet fish.
Make perfect crackling.
Bake your own crusty loaves. You can do all this and more with Craddock Cookery. Do join us this week.
She flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, for me, oh, I see her fly. No, I can't let Maggie go.
Nimble. Real bread, but lighter. Make it part of your calorie control diet.
Mum and Dad, your old friend Monica. You remember Monica. Uncle Fred. All of them so far, yet so near by Intercity. Off-peak returns can save up to 4 bob in the pound. Aren't they worth it? Mum and Dad, Monica, Uncle Fred. Intercity brings something good into their lives. You.
And we're back with more Type 40 Live, Rumble X, YouTube and Facebook here, talking the past, the present and the future of all things Doctor Who, kicking ass, taking names by the looks of things. So yeah, more to discuss, more to unpack, and lots more double entendres, no doubt, coming your way. So stay tuned and get your comments in. We'll see what you've got to make of all of this. The panel are still with me, I'm happy to say. With me, just about still with me? Are you with me? Yes, they are.
I'm with you. Do you know how to truss a chicken, Dan?
No. Explain yourself.
Fanny's husband was telling you how to truss a chicken. He said from Fanny Craddock's cookery book, good old Fanny. He said, he just turned to the camera and went, do you know how to truss a chicken? I just thought, no.
One of life's eternal questions. I'm not even sure.
I want a milk tray now. That makes me.
Do they
I prefer Black Magic. Yeah, they still do milk tray.
When I worked for Cadbury's, I worked on about 3 different revamps of milk tray. They could never decide on how they wanted the box to look. Sometimes they said, that's too cheesy, that's too this, that's too... They were always fighting against the brand in some way. So I can't remember what it looked like the last time I saw it. But is there still the milk tray bloke, or is it now a woman in a cat suit, Charlotte, that drops the chocolates?
It's just a purple box. Like, that's the best way I can describe.
Just drop.
Just a standard Cadbury purple.
I wouldn't mind show the ad with the woman in the cat suit, Dan. Why are you holding back?
That's a flake. That's a flake advert.
Cadbury flake advert. Yeah, the mysteries of chocolates past, of course. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the ad break there. I loved the Turkish Delight ad. Johnny was perinatally. Says Pete Harrington.
What?
I have no idea. I've heard of being perimenopausal, but not perinatally. You've got me there, Peter. Don't come round here using your fancy words with us.
I don't think that's a real word.
Next year, we wanting us to raise our IQs, and we have to be firm on that.
It means before birth.
Oh, does it? So we won't stand for any of that. All because the lady loves scrunge chocolates. Anyone remember that from EBC1? Now, EBC1 was the Emu show on the BBC. I know that much, Bill, but I can only barely remember it. He flitted over to ITV quite soon after my earliest of Emu recollections. I remember most of these ads, confesses Stephen O'Neill. Shown not just in 1970 but throughout the 70s. Well, a good ad would play for years, wouldn't it? Yeah. Even in the 80s they were doing that. Some of them, they would the styles, the hairstyles and the fashion, Charlotte, they would go out of fashion as they were still running some of these ads. And this is the James Bond of chocolates. I was 2 years old in 1970, says Steve Andrews. There you go. You're too young to remember some of those then. And the one with the shark, what memories, says Bill Silver. So we've shone what light we can, where we can, but there's still lots of mystery in the air. So you've got the James Bond milk tray dude there. Would he be able to get into Unit HQ? Maybe. It depends on which one it is, because some of them are quite easy to find and get into. You know, they just look like they look like they're in sort of big houses, really, just off the average cul-de-sac with giant red signs saying "Top Secret Base." 3 foot away, Gary, so that'd be quite easy to get into. As for the one that looks like Avengers Tower, that could be somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, well, a challenge. I mean, they'd offer him a job by the time he dropped off the chocolate thing. If he was at the current unit, he wouldn't have any problem at all getting in there.
They would. But it turns out that units may be holding more answers than we believed. Because obviously we're back in 2026 now, and the pressing questions, talking about pressing. I'd like to know. Okay, so this time last year.
Oh no.
Okay, so this time last year, we were starting to get the teasers for season 2 of Doctor Who. In some ways, this seems like an ice age ago, Charlotte. There's so much that's happened since, isn't there?
Yeah, it does feel like so long, but not. Like I feel like that's the theme of the year. That's just gone. It's just sort of this weird in between.
Weird in between. You couldn't put it better. I mean, they don't come much weirder than Shutigawa. You know, he came into the show in pretty weird, minus his trousers, but with a very full smile, and I think a lot of us held a certain degree of hope. He was gone really rather quickly, you know, just over a year and a half on screen, I think it was, in a flash of light. To placed by Billie Piper in look, it's a miracle that ruined the woman's career, to tell you the truth. The reaction to this was highly rebarbative. I think people found it for the most part. And even Dead Ringers, the BBC's own sketch show, was taking the piss out of Doctor Who that week. But things do seem to have died down a little. And then the BBC, they go and stir it all up again. So this turned up on their social medias last week, the official social medias, with they played this reel recapping that regeneration, sort of, whatever it is. And they said, watch the moment we said goodbye to the 15th Doctor and hello to, and they didn't actually take that anywhere. But there was a link over to the official BBC website where they have published this article, this new segment on their unit page. And this is all written in the sort of in the first person, Charlotte, as a unit employee sort of updates the files. And in this case, there's one that was published on the 6th of March, so a few days ago now. Rose Tyler, 2006 cold case. It says here, how intriguing. Because, of course, all the way back in 2005, 2006, Rose Tyler did go missing for a full year, didn't she? She came back to Earth with a bump and a bang, and someone got a slap, if you remember, in one of the more fondly remembered episodes of that comeback series. So they're diving right into Doctor Who lore here, aren't they? And at a very precise time, where we are months now on, 8 or 9 months on from the last episode, with no questions answered. This is starting to point and connect, not just to a very popular character, but a particular event in the series history, isn't it? And we've talked about it before, haven't we?
Well, yeah, sort of the thing that was so brilliant, and I do think Russell, it was such a good idea he had at the time, was the companion wasn't sort of this static thing that their family and their life before the Doctor just stopped and then restarted again when they came back into their world. It was this idea of, yeah, she's been missing. Like, if anybody in the real world went with a strange bloke and didn't come back after a couple of days, and the mum would probably get a bit worried. They'd probably start to call the police. So it was this realism that in 2005 Russell was very good at. So this was a good idea, and we've all said this at the time of that Reality War reveal. She cannot work as the Doctor. It's too much of a recognisable face. Mm-hmm. She could only be Rose. That's the only sort of thing that the fan base, because the general public is not so much of an issue, but for us, we can't get past it's Rose. Billie's not changed massively a lot. She's still got the look of Rose about her. So I think this is them sort of, this feels like to me like the first steps before they do a full-blown reveal that she's gonna come back as Rose, and that this is them sort of going, okay guys, we've realised we've messed around a lot the last couple of years, but this was the one line that even you lot wouldn't accept, so we're not going to go there. She's not the Doctor. This is what it feels like to me.
The phrase that's starting to ring in my ears, Charlotte, is course correction. Digging themselves out of a hole over a protracted period of time, Gary, to the point they must know they're never going to restore our faith in them as program makers and in their judgment. Yeah. But in all sincerity, it's not necessarily us they've got to worry about primarily. It is the general viewing public who could be there on Christmas Day and happen to catch this and understand this is Doctor Who. So quite often, as I find when I watch an episode of Doctor Who with family members who aren't geeks, who don't follow it, they don't always understand everything that's being played out in front of them. But if there's an actor there they recognise as having played one part and all of a sudden they're playing somebody else, it places an unnecessary obstacle in front of a general audience member, which would be unwise at any time. Never mind now.
I mean, you're right. It basically just strikes me as kind of like a low effort way just to keep, the name in front of whoever might see it, even though it defies logic that Rose Tyler's a cold case. I mean, hello, Donna. Yeah, this is Unit HQ. Can I speak to the doctor? Okay, I'll hang on. Oh, doctor. Yeah, we're just updating some of our final files. Where's Rose Tyler? She's where? Oh, you sure? Okay, we'll close that file then. Thanks a lot. Bye. Why is it a closed case?
You're using logic, Gary.
Yeah,
You're using logic.
You phrase it like that, you're making it seem ridiculous, isn't it, David?
Yeah, Gary, we know now from covering Starfleet Academy that logic does not apply to modern television.
Yes.
Okay, so I must castigate you for that, unfortunately. But yes, you're absolutely right, Gary. A quick phone call to Donna. A quick phone call to number 14. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you know that because I updated you afterwards, didn't I?
That's right. They don't even need to call Donna because doesn't she work for Unit now? So
Absolutely.
It's like, hey, Donna, tell the doctor we'll be calling you tomorrow afternoon. Thanks.
All right, love. Why are you updating that? Oh, that's a load of bollocks. Oh, no. Just get rid of that. It's not a cold case. you know, and it's really...
Fancy us shooting this down in flames, David. So this was the update that they put up on the website from Unit Tower in London. So this is the big Avengers sort of complex they've got. All content of unit correspondence is confidential. So we've been given this by Shirley Ann Bingham, a scientific advisor, which I know you say that out loud sounds fucking stupid, doesn't it? But no, it's true. Hello, everyone. Sure, I'm not the only one who's got this in their diary already, but today is the 20th anniversary of the return of Rose Tyler, who went missing for 1 year after Operation Mannequin. That's not Spearhead from Space, Gary. That must be Rose. That's that one. As Rose Tyler is currently both missing from this universe and flagged as a complex space-time event, maybe keep an eye out. Time absolutely flies. They say, Shirley says, I've got the Vlinks. That's not any kind of STD. That's apparently that's that robot thing. I've got the Vlinks. Scanning all media channels and the subwave network. So Shirley's pretty serious about this.
Okay. Well, I guess that's why we haven't seen the Vlinks, because Shirley apparently has him doing absolutely pointless things like scanning media channels when a 45-second phone call would answer all of his questions.
Or just shout across the desks. Hey, Donna, Rose.
Tell
us about Rose Tyler.
When I last heard, they'd broken him up and they were selling him off piece by piece on Vinted. So something's obviously changed. Maybe they've got a spare. So time absolutely flies. Rose Tyler is missing from this universe and a complex space-time event. I'll be honest, a present company accepted, Charlotte. I've not met many women who aren't complex space-time events, but I think I know what they're getting at. I mean, it is when you talk about.
All right, hang on. I'm sorry. The illogic of this just keeps falling into me. Could you put up that communication again?
Okay.
If they know enough to know that she's missing from the universe and not just, in Bermuda, then wouldn't they know where she is then? Because they know enough that she's not in the universe. So if she's not in the universe, why would they keep an eye out? Who wrote this?
Well, why are they scanning all media channels if she's in a different universe?
Yes.
For goodness sake.
But do you know what they'll do? Do you know what they're going to do? They're going to recreate that thing of her coming through on a video. They'll put it out on Twitter, or they'll put it out on their socials.
Yeah.
And they'll do a reel, and halfway through, we'll have current Billie appear. Because they've said the subwave network. And that's what that whole thing was about. And she couldn't get through, and she couldn't connect. So this is just, once again, they're rehashing. They go, and that's what that'd be the gimmick to announce Billie. That they'll do a subwave
video. Yeah.
They'll do a subwave network video.
This does point to the return to Shirley Ann Bingham, of course, as played by Ruth Madeley, who I'm not, in all sincerity, I think Ruth plays a pretty good part. Sometimes I think she's been given better material than others. I've got nothing against that actress. But obviously, when we're looking at a special, and you think, who would you want to appear in that? To to welcome back this classic new series character, you'd like to think there'd be more people. I don't. We know nothing, of course.
She's probably running unit now. Now that Kate is down on some beach somewhere,
you could be right,
waving guns at people.
Kate's got a new job for the Green Party, just sort of taking out litter droppers.
In many respects, you could say that the story of Rose Tyler represents the story of the first 4 years of new Doctor Who. Arguably, the second lead of the show, she stuck around longer than Chris Eccleston did. The changeover with David Tennant, and then departed in an extremely memorable episode that people, the general punters, the normies, they still talk about this and that departure. It was, just as they claim, tear-jerking. It was affecting, and a real pop culture moment that everybody, even now, still remembers. So to line up with that, for this, to dig them out of yet another hole that Russell T Davies has dug for the brand, for the show, for the community, for everybody who's any vested interest, really. It's not a bad idea at all, but where it makes sense, it does make sense. But my big concern remains the fact that Russell T Davies himself is going to be the one writing himself out of this. And I've got no faith left in this man. I would imagine that Billie almost certainly does. She seems to have entered back into the Whoniverse with appetite, enthusiasm, and is probably looking forward to it and working with friends, colleagues. She's spoken very generously about this, about how personal it is for her. I think we've got to take that at face value. But the question I keep coming back to is, how much damage can that man do in an hour and 10 minutes? I keep coming back to that, Charlotte.
Well, I'm like you. I have no doubt of Billie whatsoever. I think she's probably going to be the highlight acting-wise. She knows Rose. She's got such an affection for Rose because it was the start of her career. She has spoken about how Doctor Who was the thing that made people stop saying, "Oh, you're just a singer." People were like, "No, you can act now after Rose." So I think she knows she'll be very careful herself. I think she'll act it with a real sort of importance, and she'll be good. But I'm like you, Russell's writing it, and in the 60th, I really didn't like how he rewrote Donna's ending. That ending with Donna, in that she actually did lose her memories, that worked because it was sad, because it was tragic, because it was a character that had grown so much in her travels, and then she reverted back to her base setting. And that was the sadness. And the fact that the specials very quickly, and I think in a really bad manner, was like, no, she's remembered and everything's fine. And all that sort of lost was just wiped out.
It was quite nicely written. It was quite nicely played, but it can't be argued. It's tainted it. I feel it has tainted it. I mean, David, I'm looking at this thing, at it's a fun article there on the unit site. Of course, it's very silly, just as Gary says. It doesn't make any sense at all. But this does pretty much give us confirmation with a small c that Billie Piper is back playing Rose Tyler rather than the Doctor. It lends a certain weight to the Reddit leak from a few weeks ago about Rose coming back from the parallel universe because the Metacrisis Doctor, which she left with the leak saying that he'd potentially lost the plot and that she'd interfered with his maniacal plan to switch places with the Doctor of our universe. So all of this is starting to line up, isn't it? Do you think it's pretty much nailed on now that Billie Piper is playing Rose Tyler from our universe as we remember her, from right the way when we first met her, getting the lottery money from Wilson to the end of Journey's End and that last parting?
Totally, and I think it was nailed on from the last bits of the Reality War, because if you remember the credits, it said, and introducing Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. As introducing Billie Piper, but not as the Doctor, because normally they go and introducing X as the Doctor. So I think it was nailed on from that moment. I don't think that the sort of like the following ideas as how to develop it were nailed on, but I think it was nailed on that she would be playing Rose. And I have to echo what you said about the Reddit leaks, and the most amusing thing being that a little gag by Charlotte about the Metacrisis Doctor being the Valiard made it onto Reddit and took a whole world of its own as a little gag. But I do feel that it will be interfering somehow to try and maybe down to the fact that she has an affinity with the TARDIS, and the TARDIS knows that something is going wrong, and it sort of plucks her out of her weird parallel universe and plops her in the Doctor, and because they were linked, because she looked into it as per that photo. And so I think that's going to be the sort of thing, and it would make sense for David Tennant to play a baddie, and that would be refreshing.
I'm a lot more interested in the idea of David Tennant playing a rogue incarnation variation of the Doctor than him coming back with playing the heroic lead, running up and down corridors again, winking at people, flicking his hair, and doing the thing. It's not that he doesn't do it very well; he does, but we only saw him do it 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think you can pile in incarnation after incarnation of one character, or play by the same guy into something like this that's going to be on the biggest TV day of the year. I think you should be very careful about where you put people. And if David Tennant's there, all of a sudden I'm a lot more interested or forgiving of his potential involvement if he's playing something a little different, and maybe showing a side to him that we haven't seen since when he played the serial killer on ITV, for example, or Purple Man in the Marvel show Jessica Jones. He was brilliant in that. Maybe bring some of that side to Doctor Who. I think that could be pretty good.
Yeah, and because Russell was such a good writer back in the day with so much vision, it's almost like he banked the Metacrisis Doctor and Rose in an alternative universe just in case he needed something to bring back or refer to later on, if you see what I mean. Even though it was the end of his sort of tenure, minus the specials in 2009, it's very much as Terry Nation would say, is never, when he criticised the end of Blake 7, is never kill off your main ideas, because there's always money in writing, and you may always need to bring something back in the future if you're required and you've run out of ideas. But you're banking scenarios, and I think if this is what he is planning, I have more faith in his possible script than if that's the sort of thing he's planning. I have more faith in that than just David Tennant running around as a precursor to Ncuti Gatwa.
I've got so little faith in Russell T Davies, Charlotte, but I do have some faith in the actors, largely based on their natural chemistry with one another. I mean, the picture that we've got up on screen at the moment for the people watching here on YouTube is a deleted scene where our Doctor from our universe gave the Metacrisis Doctor a chunk off the TARDIS so he could effectively grow his own over a period of time. But obviously this was excised from the actual show. So he hasn't, to the best of my knowledge, he hasn't got a TARDIS, which could also play in to the theories from the Reddit leak a few weeks ago, couldn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, Rose at her best sometimes was when she was challenging the Doctor. So if you've got potentially like an evil Tennant running around, or this gone mad incarnation, which is the vibe, which what the Reddit was saying, you need a strong character that can stand up to that. And I said a while ago, like the scene in Dalek, which just always sticks with me, is when the Doctor is having that gun and he's about to shoot the Dalek, he's about to kill it. And Rose, very bravely, considering she's still quite early with the Doctor at that point, she doesn't quite know him properly yet, but she's willing to stand up for a Dalek and say, look at what you've become. Like, you're the one currently going to shoot a life which just wants to live. And look at it, it's changing. And like the line, because I can quote it when she says, look, Doctor, it's changing, what about you? And that's the power of Rose and what Billie can do. So to have that energy potentially to a Tennant, who I agree with you, I think he's more interesting when he's not sort of resting on his laurels of Mr. Likeable, Mr. Hero, when he is sort of tapping into that darker, he can do. And he's proved it in the past, but I think people have forgotten that a little bit because he has taken roles which haven't done that. So I think having that dynamic, if that's what we're having, even if the writing, I agree with you, isn't good, I think the actors have got a real chance of pulling it off, potentially.
They can lean on. Billie Piper has done sterling work, hasn't she, on the convention circuit over the best part of the last 9 or 10 months. And she does a fair amount of conventions for a busy actress. There seems to be one every couple of months where she has to kind of fight small fires and, if not defend the indefensible, Gary, then certainly run defense for a production which is on its arse.
Well, you know, she's a professional, so she's going to get up there and try to, you know, do what she can for not only a show that she loved being a part of, but, you know, for people on the production that she's still probably close to. But I've got to say, I'm going to go a little bit farther than you, Dan. I actually have no faith at all, as in one scintilla, that Russell T Davies is capable of, you know, coming up with a good script anymore. And just from the demands of what this one single episode has to do, I mean, we could take the next 10 minutes and list all the things that need to be cleared up. And I mean, we're going to need another one of those kind of like openings where they explain all the backstory of the Metacrisis Doctor and all of this stuff, because Joe Public sitting there, you know, on Christmas night is not going to go, oh, honey, yeah, I remember that scene on the beach where, no, they're going to have to re-explain all of it. And the description that, I don't know, was it on the last show or 2 shows ago, where
a couple of shows
you read what sounded to me like just like, you know, total fan fiction, you know, where the Metacrisis Doctor kind of goes crazy, and then he's going to need to merge and all of this stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, I just can't see it. I agree that, you know, Billie might be good, Tennant might be good, but if the script they're working with is not good, I've never seen an instance where on any show where solid acting makes up for a poor or a misconceived script. It's like there's only so much they can do.
Do you think this can only end badly for the memory of past triumphs and destroy?
Charlotte had a very good point. One of her many good points that she has, which is that Donna's return in the specials really only tainted the kind of majesty of her exit, which was sad and tragic, but it was absolutely memorable. It was poignant and all of that. And this original ending on the beach when they brought Billie back in season 4, yes, but it gave her a new ending, which was, in many ways just as fulfilling of a conclusion for her. So her story, in my mind, was done. It was done. It was a great story, but it was done. And now we're like, oh no, there's more to that perfect ending. It's not done. I don't. When endings are perfect like that, and in Rose's case, 2 great endings, I don't see how it's not just going to be tainted by saying, "Oh no, we're not really done yet." It'll be the same thing as with Donna.
We have to judge on past experience, David, I suppose, don't we? That's where otherwise we're going to get disappointed, I suppose.
Yeah, and I've got a question to Gary about that. So essentially, is it the Rhinebeck Falls sort of situation whereby Sir Arthur Conan Doyle killed off Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty seemingly in the Rhinebeck Falls, and then he brought him back because would you say that there are some circumstances where, after a perfect ending, which Rhinebeck Falls was, that a character should not come back?
I first of all, I'll say yes, but to your point, he did the whole Reichenbach Falls story not because the public was sick of Sherlock Holmes, but because he personally didn't want to write the character anymore, and it was the public demand for more that caused him to go, okay, and come up with, the ending, because, it wasn't said that Sherlock Holmes was dead, only that he was missing, but the public outcry to have more. So in that sense, there was a lot of outs, it wasn't like reworking, what he'd done. But I think some stories, when they're done, we all move on to new stories. We cherish the memory of the story that we experienced instead of just having it be extra parts added onto it.
Bookended.
We've got a quote here because there's an interview been given to the Radio Times, Charlotte, and you'll like this. We've got a quick moment here with a Doctor Who legend of sorts who spoke to the Radio Times at reasonable length about his thoughts about where things could go and what Billie Piper's involvement could be. This is Arthur Darvill, who played Rory on the series from 2010, speaking with the Radio Times. So check this out. Where is it?
Amazing. I mean, if that does happen and she ends.
One moment. Slight delay on that. That's very strange. Okay, here he is. Go on, Arthur. Tell her. In your own time.
Billie's amazing. I mean, if that does happen and she ends up being, the Doctor, I think that's an extraordinary move because she's just such a good actor.
What's your kind of big hope for the future of Doctor Who? It's quite an interesting point.
It is an interesting point at the moment. I haven't really looked into the ins and outs of it, and I'm sure everyone's got lots of very, very vigorous opinions on, the Disney thing and whether that worked or not. I didn't really watch it, so I don't know. I presume it will just go on forever, and that's a good thing. It's about change, and it's about life and death, isn't it? And it's about something regenerating, being reborn out of something that has gone before. I think it will always exist. I just hope it's kind of keeps true to what it is. And there's so many brilliant actors who could play that part. It would be silly to not carry it on and keep changing it and see what other people's takes on it are.
Yeah, I sort of cringe at the whole "it's about change" because I am fed up to the back teeth of that because it seems to be a get out of jail card for so many bad ideas. But it's interesting that he said about keeping the essence of what it is, because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people now surrounding the brand are sort of in different ways echoing that idea that that Doctor Who has lost its way. It's lost the essence of what it is, and it needs to find it again. I think that's becoming a more interest, and it's interesting that more people are saying it. That's what I've noticed recently.
Yep.
I can't help but notice, Charlotte, that just like so many of the other actors, whether it's anyone, Colin Baker, Matt Smith, it's a list as long as your arm. People who are either they're associated with the show, or they're synonymous with it. Who, in their quieter moments, when you catch them in a casual conversation, admit that they don't actually watch Doctor Who, but this is something that they get asked about quite a lot because of that association, and so therefore they feel that they must have some sort of out-of-the-box opinion on it. I think that what Darvill says there about change is something that I don't think he's been told to say it, but I think it's indoctrination with a small I. It's like, oh, this is what people say about Doctor Who, so I'll say the thing, and then I'll say what I really feel. But what struck me about this, which I thought was, and this is again nothing against Arthur Darvill, I think he's a nice fella, I think he's done some great work, but the tone of his voice, and I think this is how a lot of people, particularly within the fandom, feel about this, who won't have a word said against whatever happens on the show creatively or whoever works on it. There's a kind of mindset here of complacency, almost as if it doesn't really matter what happens. Yeah, the Disney thing, it may have worked, it may not have worked, and I don't know why that would be. I didn't see it, but it's going to go on forever, isn't it? And people just assume that whatever damage is done to this show, that it will go on anyway, Charlotte, and I find that extraordinarily stupid.
Yeah, like I think so. I do need to go in a minute. I think every universe and every world has a point of no return, and I think people forget that we can just keep writing, we can keep having the character on screen, and it's fine. And I know, because it will only ever work once you've got the goodwill and the fans to come back to it, and you can't just keep banking that. I agree, and I think the show. And this is sort of what I'll end on. I think Billie was that point of no return as the Doctor. And that's why they're now backing away from it. I think that's what slowly has settled now. But I do need to go. So it's been lovely to chat with you all.
Bye, Charlotte.
Good to see you, Charlotte.
See you next
Thank
week.
Thank you, Charlotte. We'll catch up with you next time. Bye-bye.
I will say that in the midst of his, and again, I have all the time in the world for Arthur Darvill. Him and Matt and Karen, to me, were the very best things about New Who. But in the midst of a lot of his diplomatic PR waffle that he was saying, was this one gem of truth where he says, it just needs to be true to what it is.
Yes.
And I thought, well, exactly, because not being true to what it is has gotten us the last 8-9 years of the show, since 2017. But it's like, I don't know if maybe he intentionally wanted to hide the bit of his true real feelings in amidst his diplomatic speak, but that was dead on. It just needs to be true to what it is, because now we've all experienced what happens when it's not.
Yeah, and Charlotte was bang on with what she said, as well as Gary is the fact that in real life, if you've got someone who keeps pushing you away and pushing you away and pushing you away, and you keep coming back and you keep coming back and you keep coming back because, okay, next time might be different, but they push you away. There's only so many times that you can be pushed away before you just go, I ain't coming back.
Yeah.
And I feel that the complacency, the C word, I've always called it the C word professionally and throughout life. The C word, complacency, it's your biggest enemy, because as soon as you start to become complacent, that's when the rug is pulled from under your feet and you suddenly find yourself on your back like a turtle and not or tortoise and not being able to do anything or flip back over. And I do
especially when you're told not to come back because it's not for you.
And it won't matter, because Arthur's right about Billie, isn't he, David? She is a formidable, well-rounded, accomplished character actress now, 20 years on from Rose Tyler. Her list of credits is enviable, and people do respect this woman.
She is amazing. She is amazing in everything she does. From Secret Diary of a Call Girl, she did the Canterbury Tales just before Doctor Who was transmitted. She was amazing in that. She has gone on to what was it, Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday,
Both.
isn't it?
Wednesday.
Both. Yeah, she's been in that. For me, she was absolutely amazing in the 50th anniversary, and she really held those scenes with John Hurt brilliantly. To be across such a brilliant actor such as Sir John Hurt, and she held her own formidably. And my faith in Russell's ability to write a good episode is not amazing. It's probably about that much, but the fact that Billie will be involved in some way gives me that she will be able to put some polish, if it's a turd, onto it, which makes me slightly more happy about the whole situation than if she wasn't involved, because she is a phenomenal actress, and I cannot sing her praises highly enough.
We've been going for a little while on this now. We've got some comments in the live chat. I think we should get over and check in with and see what they've got to say. Again, it's nice to hear from Arthur Darvill. I think he was right, everything that he said about Billie, and we shouldn't hold these actors who they do their time on the show and then they go off and do other things, and we shouldn't hold them to the things that they say as some sort of gospel truth. But I think it was great to hear from him, and what we can take from the way he phrased what he said, I think there are lessons to be learned from that, and the tone of it actually lines up with a mood out there in Doctor Who fandom, which has sort of contributed to our undoing and brought us all a collective further disappointments, which, I don't like to see other Doctor Who fans disappointed any more than I like to be disappointed myself. So let's have a quick word with him, and then we'll check in with what you've got to say. So sit tight.
Doctor, beware of the scorpion.
But that was Rory, wasn't it?
Wow.
What's going on?
Love that.
Only Doctor Who can save us from whatever that's going to be, it would seem. So stay tuned for more of that in due course. Stephen O'Neill is quite a fan of Billie Piper, it would seem. She's a far better actress than Jodie Whittaker. I would, generally speaking, again, I try not to put the boot in too much to Jodie Whittaker because I've seen her be superb in other things. She's just not built for fantasy. She was appalling as the Doctor. It was a real error of judgment on Chris Chibnall's part. And it's look, we've got to live with that, haven't we? We've got what else? More comments about Billie Piper. Peter Harrington says she's honey to the bee. She was excellent in The Ruby and the Smoke, says Stephen Braddock. Yeah, long, good career of varied roles. She does tend to come back to geeky stuff quite a lot, come to think of it. She was in Penny Dreadful, wasn't she? The sort of geeky kind of detective show set in Victorian London with all the fantasy elements. She was great in that as well.
Eva Green was in that.
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant. I've got several comments here. Bear with me just 1 second. This is my moment, says Peter. Very good, very good. Philip says the meta-crisis Doctor goes crazy and needs to merge with Rose. Sounds like the plot of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
That's right.
Human.
V'ger needs the information.
Carbon unit Kirk.
And Funky asks, instead of this meta-crisis BS, why not just do the Time Lord Victorious stuff that didn't go anywhere? Because only we remember that. That was if you think back to Time Lord Victorious, that was 2 or 3 lines in something all that time ago.
Yeah,
the visual things.
Of Mars.
Yeah, and that's one of my favourite stories. but it's the visual things that stay with the general public. So I think that's why they're going back. That's why they're going back there, because there was something of the blockbuster about all of that. So I think it does make a certain amount of sense. It's given Cheryl the chills. Which bit? Was it my raw masculinity? That's it. It does happen. You should be all right in a few minutes. Just sounds like a load of fan wank nonsense for Christmas Day, according to Woodhouse wanted to do. Shame on you, Woodhouse. How dare instead of a decent episode of Doctor Who. Well, it is absolute twaddle. Of course it is. There's no doubt about that. And Phil says, I'm sure Joe Public will be delighted to have to remember things from nearly 20 years ago after a big dinner. To understand
Thank you, Phil.
or care about this special.
Thank you, Phil.
We'll all be on the eggnog.
No, it'll be in the one-page small print text article in Radio Times the week before, bringing everybody up to speed on what they need to know before they
last
watch.
time on Doctor Who in 2008.
But the thing is, what it needs is that sort of Roald Dahl introduction to Tales of the Unexpected, where he's by a fire with a blanket over his knees. Well, today's tale is...
There you go.
I tell you what, if they put a clip off of Russell with a blanket over his knees on the telly, I wouldn't want to know it was under the blanket. Bill Silver says, it still seems unbelievable that the man who resurrected Doctor Who, brought it back to life, went on to kill it. He didn't do it single-handed. Chris Chibnall should not be let off on this one. Funky wonders how big Kate's drug addiction is after the last 3 months. So we've got to hope that she got the help that she needed, mate. Recovery is an important thing. But she could have gone on to be head of persuasion, the Greens.
Maybe that's how the special ends, is the meta-crisis doctor or whoever actually, litters on the beach, Kate shoots him, and he regenerates.
Yeah, and it was this beach. It was the same beach. I'm pretty sure it was. Rose returning, I don't really care, says Bill. That's the problem. There's a lot of people that won't care. In the fandom, there's a lot of people who won't care. I think the general public could be, if they market it correctly, they could be whipped up. They could be whipped up by this. On Christmas.
An angel delight.
Truly appalling, Dan, as the Doctor, says Stephen O'Neill. Dan as the Doctor? Did they mean me or somebody else? Another Dan? My cat is a better actress than Jodie Whittaker, says Matthew Pounder.
Boy, that's some cat.
People are trading blows on the time-honored subject here of Jodie Whittaker in the live chat. They should be taking chances here. They should be doing the unexpected. David Tennant coming back as the wrong one. I'd be fine with that, but I'd be a lot more interested if they put a call into Christopher Eccleston. I think that would be a really big swing. Very unexpected. I know he's more than likely to tell them to piss off, but if they could ask him anyway, I think that people would like that. I think that would be something that would get a lot of people watching because of the real world stuff. Yeah. And it would appear, certainly, we've seen images of both David Tennant and Chris Eccleston, both independently, be very supportive of Billie Piper in her current performance, in playing along on stage. And particularly in the case of Eccleston, there's no love lost between him and the production. He doesn't have to play along with stuff like that. So it would point towards, to me, a loyalty to the actress, to her plight, if not the actual production. So who knows? Who knows?
I would think that because, they've been, they've had this great relationship for 20 years now. I would think that when they were on stage together at that convention, I don't think that Christopher Eccleston would have said what he said about Rusty Davies and Julie Gardner and all that if he thought it would make his best mate who's sitting next to him uncomfortable or put her in a bad position. He would have never said that and put Billie in that position. So I think he probably knew she was probably totally fine with him saying it. Not that she agreed, but that he was okay, that she was okay with him saying it. But I've got to say, Dan, if as you said, if Russell ends up calling Chris Eccleston to plead with him to come on the special, and then Chris Eccleston replies, "We have to make it our mission in life to get the audio of that call, of him begging Chris Eccleston to come back."
Not long until we find out. Not long until we find out something one way or the other. I feel, David, we won't be too far away from some sort of formal confirmation, announcement. No footage, I would imagine, but I think we'll be hearing at least one or maybe two cast members. My guess would be around Easter time, which is closer than you think, isn't it?
It is. Easter's at the end of the month, beginning of April.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
It's even earlier next year, but it's beginning of April. 4th of April, I think it is.
3 weeks.
And so the hyperbole will start, and it'll be the bestest Christmas, most wonderful, exciting episode ever. And I am certain that there will be some news soon, and then we can all start that. Then silly season part 2 begins with all the sorts of speculation that will come from it. But yeah, I don't think we're far away from an announcement. And just to come back on the Jodie thing, if I may, Jodie is an excellent actress when playing serious drama, gritty type roles. And I agree with you, Dan, that I don't think she's suited to fantasy and science fiction. No. But I think she's suited to really serious, gritty, dramatic roles.
We should find out something sooner rather than later. There is speculation out there in the air at the moment about the filming schedule of the special. We do have some information. I would caution anyone reading particular websites or listening to whispers that they don't know any more than anybody else does. Nothing has been said officially. No. As far as we're aware, nothing has changed. Nobody's schedules have moved up or moved down. We're following our nose on that one. We're expecting to hear something sooner rather than later. So, yeah, I think it's worth sitting tight on that for the time being. But you'll get our opinions and an open forum for you to rant or to rave. Of course, whatever gets revealed in due course, because that's sort of why we're here for, isn't it? To bring the big guns and to unveil what we can. You know, the idea of this being a cold case is I don't know. I mean, it's a cold case detective shows and procedural dramas. They're commonplace, aren't they? It's everybody knows what a cold case is. I kind of like that. It's just because we're on the inside of this fandom and we're aware of why they're having to do this that I find it somewhat of an eye roll, I suppose. And maybe that's particular to us here, waiting very, very patiently all this time to be drip-fed nonsense like this. But let us know what you think, of course, in the comments. You know, are we taking it all too seriously? Has this whipped you up in any way? There are no wrong answers. Of course there aren't. We'll go where we need to go, and maybe there will be some surprises, you know, either familiar faces or voices or creatures, or maybe the biggest surprise of them all, and this load of old nonsense could turn out to be watchable.
Now, I suggest you start watching Type 40, because I can't. I've got to watch this little blighter. The job for... I'll have less of that from you, thank you very much. Know your place.
Know your place.
Look, if I have to run up a flight of stairs, you come and find me.
I'll be in the lift.
That's going to the bottom of the floor, then. Keep watching Type 40. There's good chaps.
If we can't raise your hopes, we can raise the colours here at Type 40 Live, as always, can't we? Thank you, everybody, for joining in with this one. We're no further to getting any answers now than we were 2 or 3 hours ago, I think. But I've had a lot of fun getting there, wherever it is that we've got to.
Yeah.
I think, gentlemen, and that's really all. Again, part of the community spirit, part of what we do here. Whether there's news, whether there's not news, you can rely on us. David, obviously, you've jetted back from holiday just to do this show, haven't you? So thank you.
not just to do the show, but because I couldn't stay any longer and my flight was booked. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. But yes, thank you. It's been lovely. I've loved the dad gags tonight and the on the buses style innuendo. It's been fantastic. Thanks for having me back.
What does it mean?
The best thing is it's not far from Monday when we should be getting something through our letterboxes.
Oh, hush. Mine will be later.
DUI? Is that coming?
No, Blu-ray DVD package.
Yeah.
I'm pulling your legs. I'm pulling your legs.
I don't. You know, I don't know about. I don't know about why you guys want to be done with silly season so much. I have all the time in the world for silly season. The silly season extends all the way through 2026. I would love it. The absurd rumors, just the utter nonsense that they're asking us to accept. That we can kind of like, take the Mickey out of.
All right.
I love that. I could do this whole year of that.
I think in some ways it helps one appreciate the rest of the year when things, from the outsider's point of view, would still look pretty insane. But from a Doctor Who fan's point of view, where at least things make a sort of sense. Whereas the silly season, all bets are off. Really, as we've come to find over the years we've been doing this show. Obviously, it is Mother's Day coming up, as Cheryl reminds us here in the live chat. Gallifrey Angel, happy Mother's Day to everyone, all the mothers, all the stepmothers, grandmothers, great aunts, aunties, you name it. Really, if you perform motherly duties, then you get a salute from us and a virtual bunch of flowers. Take your flowers. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. However you identify that. Gary, I will begrudgingly accept, but it's better be ill-fitting.
I got to give you some context for this. So, of course, my good mate Richard Brooks, who is still pining away every day for the return of Doom. I said maybe I suggested that maybe the special will be just Russell sitting on a stool for an hour under a single spotlight, just reading the script, instead of having it be. And he says that switch out Russell for Doom and he would watch. And then I said, well, how about Russell in a corset like Doom? Would that be acceptable? And he said, well, it would better be. But so, yeah. There you go.
Richard, if I can give you a spot of advice, my friend, if I could, it's get help. Get some help. Seriously. I'm an
enabler of Richard's continued obsession with Doom.
In the meantime, of course, you can stare sanity in the face, sort of, when you reach out to us here at Type 40 through our social medias, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, as ever. Join us in the Type 40 Facebook group. Still chugging away, still at it there. You get the first notices on what we're going to be doing on the live streams and the podcasts in there, as well as polls, debates, blast from the past. We share collections, or sometimes we just vent our spleens. Everything is there in the Type 40 Facebook group, so go and get stuck in and add your two penneth, as they say. Or you can do that by leaving us a message or a suggestion on SpeakPipe. The limp. Speak for yourself. The link is in the description for that as well. Believe it or not, more Doctor Who talk coming your way next time. Who knows from which end of the continuum we'll be speaking from, but let's hope it's not quite so soggy and there's a little more hope in the air. We'll keep the faith for as long as we can, but let us know your thoughts in the meantime in the comments section. If you do miss us whilst we're away, we'll be publishing the odd video and segment and whatever else, but you can go through the playlist and check out earlier editions of the live stream from previous seasons too. So get all of our various specials, news reports, and deep dives into special stories or movies or topics, celebrations even geared around individuals, either the on-screen or behind the camera legends there. That's on the Type 40 Live playlist. There's the podcast, of course, across all major podcatchers. Get that in your ears. New episodes coming very, very soon. Get it while you can, as they say. Get it while you can. Good advice any time of year, I do find, Gary. But yeah, this has been good. I feel we've covered a lot of ground, which is I like to do things. I don't like to hang about. Just to get in there, hit it like a scud, and get back out again. So thank you for being part.
Anybody who doesn't think there's stuff worth talking about in Doctor Who, just come here. Let this be your destination channel, definitely. And we'll give you all of the most entertaining stuff to talk about.
We'll even spare them a Jaffa, won't we, David?
We will do, and you get the breaking news here first, of course.
That's right.
Sometimes a year before, if you look.
Yes,
right. Yes.
Sometimes 18 months before.
TV Zone with their exclusives. Yes, but all brilliant stuff. So, have you unpacked, David? Have we interrupted your unpacking or any duties that you are taking care of on your return to Blighty?
Well, as soon as I get back, I'll load the washing machine. I did that Tuesday. And I've done my several lots of washes of my budgie smugglers and hotel. No, I wear swimming shorts. Don't worry. And various other sort of holiday. Yes, exactly. And various other. There was a rather large, portly bloke that looked like David. I think I told you on the group chat that looked like Professor David Sharkey in a rather straining pair of budgie smugglers, which was not entertaining at all. But yeah, everything's completed, and I'm just awaiting my second root canal appointment in a week and a bit. So that's I'm really looking forward to that.
I don't believe you. I suspect that could be. I suspect that could be bullshit, but good for you.
Still more preferable than Shooty Gat was Doctor Who, but there you go. Yes.
What isn't? What isn't? Time has not been kind, has it? Time has not been kind. The chat have been very kind. Thank you for all the comments, all the interaction, everybody, and for just getting into the spirit of all of this old toilet that we bang on about. Yeah, it perks up the end of our week, no end. So we'd like to think it keeps on working for you for the time being, at least. So thank you, everybody. The Christmas special, so according to Peter Harrington, should be called the Sanity Clause. Sanity Clause. I think I see what he's doing there. See, the Doctor Who community is more creative than any other.
Yes.
And I think we've got proof from that.
Even the sanitary clause.
Yeah, even better. Even better. Okay, so yeah, there is more on the way. If you make sure that you are still subscribed and notified and all that jazz by clicking the cloister bell. We'll be back. Of course, we will with more of the same. Really, no party lines, no beef, and no bullshit. Just here to take your comments, your rants and raves, where all opinions are welcome here at Type 40 Live. So make sure you're still on board and notified and subbed and all that jazz. Thank you, as always, to Charlotte Shields.
Yes.
Who's been game to bring her best, as always, and putting up with more stupid jokes, really. And there's a lot more coming next week. You mentioned it earlier on, David. Of course, a lot of us are waiting on the post, and we get our various box sets, of course, at completely different times. And then they all go up on social media. I've got mine, and people waving them in the air, all that kind of thing, because season 21 will be with us very, very soon on Blu-ray after a really, really long wait. And we'll be covering this extensively here at Type 40 Live. I'm delighted to say, so I can't wait for that. Get in your opinions, of course, and let us know what you're going to watch first in the comments section. So thank you. Thanks to Charlotte, of course. Our best wishes to Luke Walters, who'll be back from out of whatever time Eddie he's found himself in this week. He'll be back whenever he can. We know that. So, yeah, he wasn't the live chat earlier on.
Hope you get bail, Luke.
So we'll be seeing him again soon. Of course we will. Thanks to Charlotte, to yourself, David. I'm glad you could make it back, mate. Lots more ground to cover next time, of course. And Gary Akers too. We did it again. I think the perfect crime. This show is the perfect crime.
Yes, unbelievable. We fooled him again.
Yes,
we did.
I'm not quite
we
sure.
did. We
Got
always
away
have the
with it.
time. If you have the space here at Type 40 Live, we'll see you in the comments. And next time, as ever, bye-bye. Have a great weekend.